of space supporting fast-growing technology companies in three particular ways: through customers, talent, and infrastructure. So, just like our podcast series Tech Talks, Level 39 exists for the love of tech. These three episodes provide an insight into one of Europe's most celebrated tech startup ecosystems, featuring interviews with the companies growing up at the top of Canada's Square One right now. It's the third and final part of our Level 39 mashup. So Jack, we've spoken about smart cities, we've talked about smart insurance for smart cities, smart buildings, smart key cards.
That's the last piece of the puzzle then, right?
The last of our mashup mini interviews.
Yep.
And it was amazing because I walked into the room and he gave me his business card and it had an RF chip in it, and real time that business card would be able to say whether or not someone's in a building. And heaven forbid there's a Grenfell situation, you know in real time who is there, who isn't there. Brilliant innovation in that it's also really, really simple.
Yeah, it's beautifully simple, which is what all good tech is, for me anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it's a really interesting interview. The application of this technology could be so wide-ranging, but also so beneficial. It is one of those tech for good to make sure that we're safer.
It is for the love of tech.
And with that, enjoy this last interview, but thank you for tuning in to our mashup. So we're joined now by Paul Sheedy. You are the CEO of Unifi.id.
Unified.
Apologies.
Yes.
Unified.
It's Unifi identification, yeah.
And as you walked in, you gave me what would appear, well, it is a business card, but doubles up as a piece of technology that, unfortunately, because it's audio, people can't see. But if you want to explain, because it looks like an entrance to a building card.
It is, but we have embedded inside that card our own antenna and chip system, which enables us to see that card from 10 meters away. And that's really what we do inside the smart building sector. We detect the card as you get out of a lift lobby, so we know in real time who's on each floor of a building.
Originally, that wasn't how you intended the technology to be used, correct? It was you approached it from the retail sector initially.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we had a very, very successful retail data analytics company before this globally, so we're in 20 countries. And we were very clear where the issues were. We're trying to get the retailers from paper-based couponing to digital. The problem was that the digital market really was looking at this in a far too complicated manner. They were not looking at the behavior patterns of the very best shoppers. And we realized that actually, unless we brought it right back to a lowest common denominator and worked out how we can communicate to every phone without apps, without geolocation settings running, without various sort of settings in the background, you were not going to hit the sort of numbers that a retailer needs to see. So originally, we actually built this so that as you walk into a retailer, we identify your loyalty card and send to your mobile phone exactly the right offers for that particular trip.
And when you were talking about the kind of the digital market maybe overcomplicating things, initially it was a case that someone would have to, when they walked into the shop, get their phone out, log into a particular network, X, Y, and Z, and you realise, well, the demographic, the audience just wasn't right for that piece of technology, so you reversed it.
So people didn't understand the behaviour pattern of shoppers. Now, back then, I used to analyse the baskets of 80 million people a week. And that was from, as I say, Thailand and Russia to USA. And we knew that actually your best shoppers were not the next face of Apple. Your next shoppers were actually middle-aged, normal people who were married and had kids and were buying very large baskets. And if you had their loyalty, you had a good business. Yeah. We were not focusing on the millenniums. We were not focusing on anything but the core best shoppers. And those core best shoppers, actually, when you really went and did a deep dive, there was a lot of issues there in moving them to shiny, bright technology.
So this card then can be adapted to a number of different situations. So if it's in my wallet and I walk into a club, they know who I am, what I like, and allows them to put different offers on the table in front of me that resonate.
Well, yes. I mean, we're in a number of different sectors. So, for example, the smart building sector is one that we've got a lot of focus on now. Yep. Way before Grenfell ever happened, we were talking about the risks of high-rise buildings, and now it's getting people to sort of really look at this in a bit more detail and realizing that there is no insight there on what's happening inside a smart building, a high-rise building in real time. Now, there's other sectors such as the private members clubs, where again we're trying to give that extra bit of maybe ego massaging and better service, etc. So you want to stay in that members club. We're also in places like co-working spaces and various sort of sectors like that.
And it's interesting that you mentioned obviously about Grenfell, because there's a big tech for good movement. Whilst the initial concept of this card was around retail and maybe private members clubs and extracting value there for profit, you've been talking to the Greater London Authority around how this could be implemented to create smart solutions for building safety, as you kind of alluded to there.
Exactly. Right? I mean, I find it really morally repugnant that there are buildings going up even now in London that have got no way of evacuating that building in any sort of reasonable time frame. Now, we just feel there's a duty of care to the London Fire Service, to the people inside those buildings, that when something goes wrong, or if something goes wrong, you have the insight to know what the fire service should be looking at, where they should be putting the focus, and minimising the number of them going into that building. And really, we have a solution now that will give you in 3D, in real time, the location and the evacuation processes that are happening in the building. And as we move forward and start bringing in more artificial intelligence, we can literally predict to the second how long a building will take to evacuate based on the number of people in there at the time of the evacuation, the number of stairways, maybe how many disabled people, etc., in there, which will obviously take up time to get them through different evacuation methods.
Now, I think looking at the experience that you've just shared with us there, the kind of the overriding theme would be pivot. That comes through. You kind of initially, the technology seemed to be aimed in one direction, and then you've opened up different sectors, and the technology's been applied to different problems. I mean, what would you say is the biggest learning curve for you through that experience in terms of being a CEO of a startup?
Sure. I mean, quite frankly, I was probably the biggest issue in realizing very late that we had to pivot. I guess I'd started the business up with such a complete focus on retail that even though there was flags waving saying, there's other sectors here for my technology, it wasn't until, I was actually selling to other people and then realizing actually there is a business here. Why don't I just remove my pride, rebrand so we're not so specific on retail, and wake up to the fact that actually there's very, very open sectors here for us to actually deliver solutions in, which they don't have the simplicity or the seamless nature in which we deliver our solutions in place already. So
the success is down to flexibility and openness, basically.
Yeah. I mean, in technology, you have to be very open-minded for what's happening, but I guess you also have to open your mind up to, even though you build it for a specific sector, there could be a really, really key sector that you just haven't woken up to, and you need to, pivoting the business is not for us, it's actually extremely easy, because really what we're doing is detecting, making a decision, and communicating. And it doesn't matter whether that's a members club, whether it's a high-rise building, whether it's retail, it's the same core three principles. It's the long-range detection, the decision what we should do, and then the communication.
Look, it's been fascinating to talk to you. I hope that the product continues to evolve, and very best of luck for the next few months or so.
Thank you.